Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I'm doing another Women of Horror Spotlight. Today I have with us, she's an author, and she has a book out right now on her website as well as Amazon, and it's called Psychology of Horror Villains, Survivors, and Victims. I have with us S.L. Yarborough. S.L., welcome to the Horror Realm.
Hello, welcome. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy too. Listen, I'm so excited to hear about this book. I mean, it sounds amazing. Tell us a little bit.
Two of them not so far.
Yeah.
Well, what made me? I'll tell you a little bit about what made me want to write the books. For one, I was in school and I finished getting my master's in applied behavioral science with emphasis in psychology and criminal justice. And I was thinking about, because I'm a movie buff too. I love horror films. I love movies, period, and TV. So I kind of was thinking about, if these horror villains were real, what kind of psychological disorder would they have, and what, if anything, could be done to help them, to treat them, or was there something that could have been done to prevent them from becoming what they were? So I decided, hey, I think I'm going to write a book about that. So I sat down and the first book, my first one, volume 1, I looked at some horror icons such as Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy Krueger, Jigsaw, Pinhead. So I kind of looked at those characters in volume 1. And volume 1 also has DSM, some of the DSM definitions and ways to treat and what treatments for different psychological disorders. I also have like criminology theory in there, and some parapsychology theories too, because you're dealing with a lot of supernatural beings when you're looking at this and supernatural different kind of events. Psychology, the second one, volume 2, actually the volume 2. Volume 2 is out as well. So volume 1 and volume 2 are both available now. And volume 2 I just expanded upon the characters because there were so many that I wanted to do that I just couldn't put them all in one book. So I split up the movie villains in 2 volumes, and then in volume 3, which will be coming out in September, hopefully, I look at television series. So horror villains in television series. So like The Walking Dead, True Blood, Nosferatu. I even went back to some old shows like Forever Night and Moonlight. So for some of the vampire shows, and an actual 80s horror film, the TV show, Werewolf. That was, I think, one of the only dedicated werewolf TV shows that I've ever seen. That was pretty much dealing with werewolves and werewolves only, not a vampire, but werewolves or things like that. So kind of.
And it's interesting because majority of these horror villains are they're based off of actual serial killers and murderers. And I mean, one of the most popular ones is Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He is derived from many different serial killers.
Yes.
So give us a little bit of a breakdown on Leatherface.
Leatherface, he's in volume 2. And now when I did Leatherface, this is pretty much like what they did Michael Myers. You got they split off. Like you start looking at the films and it's like, okay, which timeline am I going to utilize for the character? And when I did Leatherface, I looked at a couple of films, even one of the newer ones that kind of showed him like what he was like. They gave him the one that I watched. I forgot which one it is now. But they showed his mother. She's pregnant, working in this meat factory, and she gave birth to him in the meat factory. And his boss took him and threw him into the trash can. And then the cannibal people found him and took him and raised him as their own. and he had some other disabilities, and he was kind of nonverbal. And the meat packing place, that was when as he got older, he worked there, and he enjoyed working there. He loved working there. That gave him purpose. When they took the meat, they closed it down. They got shut down from they came in and inspected it. Okay, and it was, I guess, it didn't pass inspections, and they shut it down. So Leatherface, I think on that one his name was Jedediah, because he had multiple different names depending on the timeline, depending on the movie. But in this one, I chose this one because it kind of gave him something you could kind of grasp onto. It gave you a little bit like, you know, what he was, and maybe how he came this way. But because of his very, very traumatic birth, his traumatic upbringing, and he was able, and because of the fact that he did have mental disabilities and he was nonverbal, so more than likely he may have been autistic, with nonverbal autistic, and he was so happy with doing his work. So he wasn't a killer. He didn't want to be a killer. He was there minding his own business, happy. Well, when he lost that, like what happens with a lot of people, so many stressors, you get so many stressors, and all of a sudden something breaks that back, just breaks that psyche. And what happened to him is that boss was mean to him. They were always belittling him, and he was, every day they talked down to him, and every day he come in, okay, this is my job, I'm happy, I'm doing my work. When he lost that, and that supervisor, that owner, talked down to him again, and then one of the other workers called him a very derogatory name, he got angry. So then he just snapped. He grabbed a hammer, I believe it was, and just beat the owner to death. He killed him. And after that point, he was doing, because the family, because they no longer had the meat, they no longer have food. So then they had to find a way that we have to eat. And they forced him to get the meat for them. So that meant killing people so they can eat. So when I looked at that film, and I looked at Leatherface in that aspect, and we're going to pull him up so I can read to you what I was saying was his diagnosis and how they would treat it. Okay, here we go. Texas Chainsaw 205. And that's one thing about these films. When I look at some of these films, some of them they have such they just go all around different things. So you'll go through, like Michael Myers, you go through Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then it starts like, okay, which timeline do I do? The Rob Zombie timeline? Do I do the original timeline? Do I do the H2O time? So with Michael Myers, I stuck with the first two films. I just was like, I guess I'm not going to even look at those to do his. But with Leatherface here, here's my psychological aspect. And what I chose to incorporate the original two films and the remakes, and the background I used from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, 2006. That's what I used for his background. I put Thomas Leatherface, because Thomas is another name that he had. I came into his world in a traumatic way. He was discarded as trash and taken in by a demented, cannibalistic family. Because of his lower mental capacity, deformed facial features, and lack of stable family members, Thomas was a loner and took solace working at the slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse afforded the Hewitts with meat and scraps. When it closed, they went back to cannibalism. Thomas Leatherface was given the moniker because he would cut off the face of his victims and then wear them as masks. Each face he wore allowed him to show expressions, because he couldn't show expressions because his face, he had such bad deformity, he could not show any kind of expression. The lack of speech also made it impossible for him to communicate. Initially, he killed his manager due to anger. He was made to kill by his uncle. He was the family butcher, providing the family with meat to eat. Now, could he have been helped? I think Leatherface or Thomas or Jedediah or whichever name you want to use, he would have been able to be helped if he would have been given to a proper family. He was the way he was because that's how only thing he knew. And that's a sad thing that maybe some people turn into something because that's all they know. That's what they've been raised into. So if we go by that timeline and that particular background for Leatherface, that's what you would see. Now, the original one, I mean, it was still the same way. Even if you look at the original movie, they based him off of other, like you said, a mishmash of serial killers, people that went egging, and some of the other ones that went out, cut people up, and wear their skin or whatever it is. But Leatherface, if you look at him, it wasn't that he was doing it because he was some kind of serial killer, some crazed lunatic. He was doing it because that's what his family asked for him, and he would do whatever his family wanted of him. And because he didn't have such intellect and ability to really communicate, he was just that. He did what they wanted him to do. So I kind of looked at Leatherface in a different way and looked at that background of him from that one film, and that gave me a different outlook for it. Really, what did we know about him in the first movie? You didn't really know anything about him. You just knew he was killing people. Yeah. So when I do these books, like even in real life, if I was to sit down and look at a crime scene, or bring me in and look at a crime scene, I don't really have that person say, hey, why'd you do this? You're looking at a crime scene, it's okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is the guy we captured. We caught this person. We got like something that shows maybe he did, or maybe he confessed in something. So we bring in this killer, but you gotta look at the scene and look, okay, this is all the stuff that happened. And try to look at their background. What were they like as a kid? What was their home life? And sometimes you don't get that. So sometimes you still gotta kind of piece all the pieces together. And that's what I had to do with some characters who didn't have a whole lot. So you had to kind of piece it together on what their issues were.
And one of the things about if you look at Leatherface in particular, if you look at a lot of them, I don't care which one, but he's almost He's almost childlike. Like he is developmentally delayed. Like he's almost like a child. He's pretty much. But you kind of even see that with a lot of the horror movie. You see that with Jason Voorhees. Yeah. He's almost childlike. But they kill in fear. Or they kill because, I hate to say it, Mama tells them to kill.
Yes. And in Leatherface's, there was the one, that 2006 one, it was his uncle that was making him go out and do it. So it's always, there's a catalyst. Let's look at like Jigsaw. There's a catalyst for what he did. And initially, I mean, when I looked at Jack Kramer, I looked at him, John Kramer. When I looked at him, I was like, initially he was doing this, I mean, because he wanted people to value life. It wasn't until he almost died himself that he valued life. And he was like, well, people that don't value life or that destroys life, don't care, they don't deserve it. I want to give them some kind of opportunity to see that life is worth living. So the people that put you in this trap, yes, but you had to find the way to get out of the trap. And a lot of times, if you admit it, just admitting what you did wrong or taking consequences for what you did wrong, you may be able to survive the trap. But a lot of people couldn't survive the traps. And some of them, when it was no longer Jigsaw, when he had the they were doing. They weren't trying to save people or give them a chance to redeem themselves. They just wanted to kill them.
Yeah.
They just enjoyed seeing the carnage. When I looked at Pinhead, really, he was a good man. He was a really good man that just during the war, you see all this death and dismemberment and how humans don't value other humans' lives. And because of that, he just, gave up. He gave up and he became just this man that went from being a good man, a excellent soldier, just a very good man, to this guy that only wanted to feel pain. That pain gave him pleasure. And because of that, he was taken to hell and became Pinhead. And then all he does is he comes back to Earth, if you call him, by using the cube, then you may be taken to hell because you contacted him. But what he was doing was come and say, "You called me." Hey, it wasn't a situation that you look at him as a villain. Yes, he was a villain, but he was doing his job. He was coming up because you called him from hell, and that was it. So a lot of these, if you look back, if you really look at some of these villains, the same as like when people talk about was my brain just Thanos. Was Thanos wrong?
No.
You look at it, there's some word villains, you sit there and you say, wow, really? I mean, was he wrong? Were they wrong for doing what they did?
Now, one thing about a great horror character is that you're able to relate to them. Not necessarily you agree with what they're doing, but you're like, I see what they're doing. Now, one thing about something I've noticed about a lot of horror characters, whether it be from Freddy Krueger to Jason to Michael Myers to Leatherface to Norman Bates, a lot of these horror characters have an unhealthy relationship with their mother.
Yep. Very unhealthy.
So where do you think that comes from? Why do you think by having an unhealthy relationship with your mother has made these men kill?
Well, the mothers themselves have psychological issues as well. So the mothers with their psychological issues, the children, of course, inherit some of them. Sometimes the kid inherits some of the issues the mom has. Even the mom, because they keep the child with them. Like with Jason, his mother, I mean, she was so overprotective of him because of his issues that she wouldn't let him out of her sight. She wouldn't let him leave her side. She was forced, they were kind of coerced her to let him go swim and be with other kids, and then her child gets drowned. If you look at Norman Bates, have you seen anything past Cycle? You see Cycle 2? Cycle 2. Have you ever watched Cycle 2?
I watched Cycle 2, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we know you're. I mean, it's such an old movie. I hope I'm not spoiling it for people. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but it's a very old movie. Well, you find out that Norman's mom had a psychological disorder, and she was in a mental hospital. And his aunt, who was raising him, but she had a mental disorder as well. And I think that Norman obviously inherited those disorders, but the aunt drove him to what he was by her the same thing. You can't have any women around. Women are dirty. Women are going to do this or that to you. You can only be here with me. You need to be here with me. You need to help me. So that cleanliness that the mothers had to their children, it causes a psychological disorder, because when they're inheriting some of those disorders, and then they get that trauma and that stress because their mothers are just smothering them. They're smothering them, and they feel that this is the only woman for me. She's always going to look out for me. I need to do what she wants. So you see that even on people that are not serial killers in regular life, you see
there's a lot of men
what they call the mama's boys, you know.
Yes, and those men usually look for a woman to be their mother.
Yeah, and the mothers don't want the other women to be involved with their child, with their son. Mm-hmm. So you see that, and you see people like Michael Myers. Michael Myers, what did make him that way? You know, we really don't know why he killed his sister. I mean, I as you watch the movie, you see that he got kind of mad because he wanted to, I guess he wanted to trick or treat or something like that, and she wanted to have a boyfriend over there, and she's ignoring the little brother, and you can see that that kind of made him mad, and he went in, and he went up there and stabbed her to death. But you know, you look at that and you're like, it doesn't say he had a bad mom. His mom wasn't a person that was bad to him. His dad was around, so he wasn't one of those situations that there was no man in the house and he was by himself, and the mom made him that way. He looked like he had a good family life, and here he is, this little boy that did a horrendous thing, and we see that in real life. We see like those little girls that killed the other girl and did that Slender Man thing. So you see all these, I just watched the true crime story. These two girls, the girl was mad because her ex-girlfriend liked another girl, and these are 15 and 16-year-old girls, 17-year-old. They took the little girl and killed her just because they were jealous. The one was jealous of her. You know, and it's like you look at the movies, like you said, a lot of it is based off of our reality. That's what makes it even scarier.
Well, Michael Myers, I mean, I think I'm thinking about the Rob Zombie one, but Michael Myers, he had a stepfather in the house, and his stepfather was nasty towards him and abusive towards his mother. So that's why, if you base it off of that one, the stepfather was the first one that he killed. Because
that's what I said. Yeah. There's so many timelines for Michael Myers. So I focused on 1 and 2. Yeah. And there was also a thought that Michael was possessed by Enya, which was a Celtic god. So I kind of put that in there and said, well, if he was being controlled by a spirit, an evil spirit, then that would explain some things, like from 1 and 2. So if you look at 1 and 2, I could see him being possessed by something. If you go to Rob Zombies, which I didn't see, I'm going to watch them, but I haven't watched those yet. If you go by the Rob Zombie ones, it gives you a catalyst, a reason why he may have been that way. And then if you go to H2O, then you go to the new ones. The timelines are they're split up, and they give you different ways to see them, and it's just like, I'm just gonna pick one because it'll be so confusing. And everybody like, what is going on? But Freddy Krueger was his mom wasn't around, and he was in going through foster families, and his foster father, the one he killed, abused him. So yeah, Freddy went through a lot of things that probably he may have been psychologically predisposed with his genetics from one of the insane men that got his mother pregnant. Mm-hmm. So that genetics was there, but it had to be something to trigger those genetics. So obviously all that stress and those different foster families and that foster father that was abusing him caused that. So that's another thing. Like you said, every time you look at these different Oh no, I gotta look at see. I'm trying to remember. I think I did see a couple of them that there was no rhyme or reason. They just was nasty. Those the evil
Yeah.
people, and there was no rhyme or reason for it.
But if you look at serial killers and even horror movies, for the most part, it's that early development stages.
Mm-hmm.
Something happens. It's, especially when it comes to a male. It's either sexual assault, overbearing mother, overprotective mother,
Mm-hmm.
seeing something traumatic. Those are the things that that triggers. Because I've done the histories. Well, some research on serial killers, and men usually, when one of those things happen, and unfortunately a single mother, there's something. It's something ridiculous. Like they're 70% more likely to live a life of crime and violence.
Yeah.
In a single mother household. But it seems like women, women who go through those same things, they don't necessarily act out in violence towards other people. They do more like self-destructive things to themselves, whether it be like suicide or they're extremely promiscuous or drugs. They usually do self-inflicted pain, which definitely makes it interesting. Now, so I got one last question to ask you about a villain. And this question is, why does Candyman kill black people?
Oh, you know what? I don't understand it too. I never understood it. I'm like, you're a slave that was killed by slave owners and other white men, but you come back and kill other black folks.
But not only black folk, poor black people in the project.
Poor people, exactly. I never understood it, and I think I might have to look back in my Clive Barker's one of my favorite authors, but I know I have the book in my shelf. I might reread the short story again and kind of see, because to understand why would maybe they were trying to make a point or something. Maybe we're trying to talk about the fact that a lot of in the ghetto and in these poor areas, the ones that are killing killing the other ones are the same. And I think if you live in a poor white area, it's going to be mainly a poor white person killing a poor white person. Mm-hmm. But in the black area, they're saying, I think that was what they were trying to show. And if you look at the new Candyman, which I didn't get a chance to finish watching it, they pretty much was bringing up that kind of fact that we're killing each other, and we need to stop killing each other. It just I don't know. Candyman, I have not did it. I didn't sit down and do Candyman yet.
Candyman is so problematic.
Yes, it is.
Because I've always said that I'm like, but he's always chasing after a blonde-haired white woman every damn movie, risking
exactly.
Like, it's so problematic. Listen, but it's 1% true. You can't say that doesn't happen in our community, but like, it's like, whoa, it's such a. And I love the original Candyman, but I have to admit, like, he is a problematic. He is the black horror character, but damn, SL.
Yeah, that's it. And then what was so funny is that's what Peele did with Get Out.
Yeah,
same thing, and I don't know. It's just that. I can't. I try to get into it, and I just can't. Like every time I sit down and try to watch it and do something about it, I'm like, it kind of agitates me. And
as a black person, Candyman bothers me, and I love Candyman. I love Tony Todd, but if you sit back and really think about the Candyman movies, it's like,
why? When I get to because I'm going to do each genres, and I'll do my look at black films like from the 80s, 90s, 2000. Take a look at how we've evolved or pretty much stayed the same. That's what I liked about my brain just stopped on that movie. But I just watched it. It was the fiction, something fiction or something like that. But they were writing. It was a black actor, a black guy writing a screenplay, and they kept wanting to put that the a gangster to put all this different stuff in it, and he used to want to write. So it was a book. He wanted to write a book that was just a normal. Like if I write a book, it doesn't matter what character, what they are. This is just a book. But they wanted. Nobody wanted to publish his book. But they published his. He said, "I'm just going to write some crap stuff and see if anybody published it." He didn't think they would publish it, but of course they did, because it was making black. They were showing ghetto black people, a guy raised in drugs and killing people, and they wanted to publish that. And that's the kind of thing that I'm looking at. That's why I really want to kind of look at that kind of the films, and that's when I'll probably look at Candyman when I do that, because I can look at it and say, okay, so here we go again, slave chasing the slave owner's woman or a white woman, and he gets killed by them, but he comes back as a spirit and keep chasing the white woman. Did you learn? You didn't learn anything. You got killed.
And the reboot, by the way, the reboot, I hate the reboot because it's not that. It's a whole nother construct that's going on in the black community. And I've said many times, I'm like, even if it's true, as a black director, why would you let everybody else know that that's the thing that's going on? You know what I mean? Like,
and I started watching it, and then I was like, I don't want to watch this, and turned it off. Yeah. One movie that I did like, and I wanted to put it in here, I just didn't have the time. It was on Amazon. It was an Amazon Prime movie with Felicia Rashad and oh goodness, her son had died. I'm trying to remember what the name of that movie, but I'll tell you what, it was a refreshing thing to me because it was different. It wasn't showing people being ghetto and stuff like that, and it was a psychological horror that was like, it could be, if you look at that movie, it could be anybody, but it was a black family. I'm pulled up real quick because it was a really good movie.
But that's why I dislike the movie The Blackening so much. I despise that movie.
Some of these. That's why I was like, some of the stuff, I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch it. I just try to. The other horror film that I watched that was pretty funny was The Hair. And the hair was was killing him. I actually liked it.
That was a good one. It
was a good movie. It was Black Box is the film that I don't know if you can see it. This right here. Can you see the?
Yep. I wrote it down on my list to watch. Black Box.
Yeah, that was an excellent movie. Excellent psychological thriller. Now, Will, when I find that here, I watched that Hair movie. I think it was on Amazon as well. Oh, it was funny. But like one of those funny horror films.
Yes. SL, where can everyone find you?
On at www.slyarbrough.com, and also check my Amazon page on Amazon. Just look under SL Yarbrough on Amazon. I'll be right there.
Okay. And I will have the link to her website down in the description box. So please click on it and grab your copy. And Volume 3 is coming out hopefully in September.
Yeah.
So listen, this was so much fun. I would love to have you back on. Listen, and we can talk about some more horror movies.
I know.
This was fun.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Rim. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's SL Yarworld. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.